guys, welcome back. We are here for the next installment of the mini bookshelf tours. In this episode, I'm going to show you my poetry collection. There is a lot. There's probably too much. It's ridiculous, I know. Sora is also running around trying to get into things. He is just very, very playful right now. So I apologize for any disruptions. I'm going to spare you from a long introduction and we're just going to jump right on into this. If you are interested in the purpose of these videos, I will leave the playlist in the description box below. I give more of an introduction in the first couple of videos, but so this is my poetry shelf from the top all the way down to the bottom. We're gonna go ahead and start on the bottom and work our way to the top. All right, we got work to do, baby. The bottom is kind of mixed, but I have some more plays down there, but I also have this Poetry for Dummies. I actually read this book on ebook and it was so incredibly helpful. This is one of the books that actually changed my mind about reading poetry and really got me into it. So then we have A Making of a Poem, and this is an anthology of poetic forms. And so I think the way it's organized is it talks about a specific form like a sestina. Oh, here. A villanelle, and then it will give examples. So it gives the history of the form, the context, and then it gives examples of poems that use this form. And I think that's just an incredibly educational way to learn more about poetry. This is one of the first thrifted books that I had picked up about poetry, and it's just this, oh my goodness, Sora. And it's just this Oxford book of short poems. I'm up in the air whether or not I'm going to keep this one. Then we have this book, Ray Armont. I think I've had this one for quite a long time, actually. I don't know if this is really the kind of poetry that I'm into. It seems like that very contemporary. Oh, well, she actually won a Pulitzer Prize for poetry. Okay, I might have to consider that one a little bit more. Then we have Hamlet. This is my copy that I had in college. It has all of these tabs and everything that I used. The interesting thing about that class is it was an online class. It was also a fast track class, and so we covered so much stuff in the time that we did that class. Also, I had 3 other classes that also included a lot of reading, a lot of writing, so it was really stressful, and we were given online resources to cite for reading Shakespeare plays, but I had such a difficult time with reading them on the screen and being able to, work with it in order to complete the assignments that we had to do with the text. We had to read an entire play per week, plus do all these discussion questions and all of our assignments with it as well. So it was really stressful. It was a ton of work, and I had to be able to understand the plays in a short amount of time in order to make sure I had enough time to do all of my work. I asked the professor if I could read it in the parallel text form, and he said that's completely fine, but obviously you are going to have to cite your work to the original text. And I was like, okay, fine. So I figured out a way to do all that, but yeah, this is mine from when I was in school. So I have, my annotations here. Oh, I have another copy of this book, but because this is the one that I had gotten my hands on while I was in school, I will always keep this one. Euripides, a book of complete Greek tragedies, which is interesting because if I have all of these in one, then I might be able to slim down. Oh, this is fun. Shakespeare's Insults, Educating Your Wit. What wind blew you hither? You'll be rotten or you'll be half ripe. His kisses are Judah's own children. I see no more in you than the ordinary of nature's sail work. You common cry of curs, whose breath I hate as reek o' the rotten, whose loves I prize as the dead carcasses of unburied men that do corrupt my air. Oh, and they're divided into different plays, by the way, as well, so that's kind of fun. Let's see. Much Ado About Nothing. He's no less than a stuffed man. He will hang upon him like a disease. Just a fun book. This small little book, Shakespeare Book of Quotations. From Macbeth, Act 2, Scene 3, Drink. Provokes the desire, but it takes away the performance. They are divided into subject matters like devil, drink, excess, fashion and apparel, fear, and then they source which play they're from. 30-second Shakespeare, and yeah, I absolutely love the way this book is organized. It looks kind of like this, like an annotated notebook, and I just like that form. Talk about the forms that he uses. Oh, this one I can get rid of. I don't even know how I got a hold of this book, but this is the Dover Thrift edition of Othello. But I'm gonna get rid of that one because I have this edition of Othello, and this one's nice because it actually has these sub notes on the bottom as well, and there's also scene by scene analysis at the back. I think I also had these for my college class. So I have The Merchant of Venice and Midsummer Night's Dream. I have my annotations in here, so obviously got to keep that. Merchant of Venice, I really like this one. This is one of his comedies. And oh, I have another copy of The Merchant of Venice. I don't know why I have two. With detailed notes from the world's leading center of Shakespeare studies. So one side it's the play, and then on the other side it has like it explains like these foreign words, you know, words that aren't common to us anymore. Okay, and then I have a huge collection of all of the No Fear Shakespeare, because these are the ones... Oh no, that's right. I actually ended up borrowing these copies from the library when I was going through school. I really love these parallel text formats. So I'll show you all my No Fear collection. So I have Macbeth. This is the one that I actually used in school. So I have all my annotations, and I have all my hideous pink, all my annotations. So this is the one that I use in school. The Comedy of Errors. This one I actually just recently got. I've had the other Othello for a long time, but then I saw this one. I was like, oh, it's a No Fear version. Okay, I kind of want that one. The Tempest. Hamlet. I know I already have another Hamlet, but Taming of the Shrew. And I'm really glad that I have these, because one of these days my kids will probably end up having to study Shakespeare, and I'll be able to have these for them. I think my oldest is actually really into Shakespeare as well. So okay, a few more from the bottom shelf. We have English romantic poetry. This is an anthology. I might actually get rid of this one. These Dover Thrift ones are just not my favorite. Then I have a collection of poetry by Percy Shelley. Clearly it was a deal I couldn't pass up. A collection of poetry by John Donne. Then a collection of love poems. Now we're gonna move on to this shelf. Shoved up on the top, I have this edition of Essential Tales and Poems by Edgar Allan Poe. And I really like these editions, like with the elastic closure. The text is really nice. And this has so much of his work. Like, I love the quality of the paper, and the text is really nice. And then my husband actually got me this copy of Greatest Works by Edgar Allan Poe. I don't necessarily know that I need two copies, but I think this book actually has a lot more stuff. Essays and criticism, as well as letters in the back. So I think that's really cool. All right, then I have this copy of Beowulf, New Verse Translation by Seamus Heaney, and it's actually also in parallel text form, which is really cool. Odyssey. Oh, I have my bookmark in there. That's funny. Then I have a copy of the Iliad. I started reading this. I never finished it. I mean, it's a lot to finish, but I didn't finish it, but the time I spent with it was nice. Poems and Sermons by Museko Soseki. Then I have this beautiful book, Love's Ripening by Rumi of the Hearts of Joy. So it's like love poems. It's just a beautiful little book. It has this like ribbon and everything. Oh, here's my copy of The Prophet. I have another Khalil book over there, which I guess I should probably grab that one and move it over here. I found this thrifted, but it was one of the most beautiful books. It is Amor Paulo Coelho. These are love poems, but they're all in Spanish, and this is one of the most gorgeous books. And it has these pages that have all this artwork on them. Yeah, I mean, the whole book is just absolutely stunning. Yes, I know they are in Spanish. I'm not that good at Spanish, but I'm definitely better at reading and interpreting Spanish than I am speaking it and creating sentences on my own. Here in the United States, you study 2 years of Spanish in school, but then after that, right before I started college, I had set my sights out to learn Spanish, and I got really good at it for a while because I just honed in on it. But then as school started picking up, I had to stop studying. I kind of quit studying Spanish. When we moved to Florida, because I had been studying like the Spanish you would speak in Mexico because that was like closer to where we would live. But then we moved to Florida, I started kind of studying a little bit more Spanish that you would hear from the islands, from Puerto Rico, because there's a lot of Puerto Rican people who live in Florida. So I kind of switched over to learning that kind of style, which That's very challenging to learn. I have a little collection of books in Spanish because that's a really good way to learn Spanish is reading. All right, I have this book. I got it in San Francisco. I love this book. This is Lawrence Ferlinghetti, San Francisco Poems. And I believe I picked it up. Yeah, I picked it up at City Lights bookstore when I was there. And that is just such a cool, iconic bookstore. Then I have this book of poems by Sappho. Nice little book. The Raven and Other Poems. Even though I have other editions, I don't have the heart to get rid of this because I just love just this tiny little book. I absolutely love these editions of these books. They are so gorgeous. And what are they even called? I don't even know what they're called. I found this one. Macmillan Collector's Library Edition. And it's illustrated. And that's these little books. I just think they're so pretty. And if you have like the whole set, you know, they'd look really pretty. And then they have gold sprayed edges. And if you take the dust jacket off, there's like this embossed canvas cover. I only have one of these in my whole collection, and Midsummer Night's Dream. I don't even really particularly love this play, but I love this edition of this book, so it's in my collection. Sonnets. I just love this retro cover. It's not even like that great of an edition, and actually somewhere I have a No Fear edition of the Sonnets. I actually think it's in the cabinet over there, which now that I'm kind of clearing out some space over here, I should probably move it over. But I still think I would keep this edition just because I just like the artwork on it, I guess. Then I have this edition of Romeo and Juliet. It's kind of like one of those leathery covers. Wasteland and Other Poems by T.S. Eliot. Another book by Sappho. Oh my goodness. I think I can get rid of this book actually because I have another edition that's like so much better. Divine Comedy. Yeah, this book is... I'm gonna get rid of this one. I just absolutely love how trashed this book is. And the old retro cover, but the portable Chaucer. This has Canterbury Tales, Troilus and Cressida, short poems, and selections from other long poems. So it's just like a nice collection. It has a little bit of everything. San Francisco Poets. Obviously, Lawrence Ferlinghetti, William Everson, a collection of major American poets. Ralph Waldo Emerson, Longfellow, Whitman, Poe, Dickinson, Stephen Crane, Robert Frost, E.E. Cummings, William Carlos Williams, Ezra Pound, and more. So this is one of the first poetry collections that I got, and I absolutely love it. I've read quite a few in here. But that is 4 centuries of women poets in England and America from 1552 to 1950. The world split open, and like that's kind of a cool cover, but what I really like about this book is that it will feature a poet and then give you kind of like and there's a lot of poets in here that I don't think a lot of people even knew wrote poetry, but Queen Elizabeth I. Elizabeth I was one of the last of a long line of aristocratic English women whose humanist education equipped them to read and write in several languages, including Greek and Latin, and to write poetry. At 15, Elizabeth did into English, as it was said, Margaret of Navarre's Godly Meditation of the Soul. She also did a complete and excellent translation of Boethius. Many original poems have been attributed to her, but the 2 printed here are indisputably hers. Many women poets lamented the Queen's death as the end of an era of admired intellect and artistic talent in women. Okay, the last one on this shelf is Everything on It by Shel Silverstein. And the craziest thing about my books by this author is that when we moved from Florida, I thought I had 2 other Shel Silverstein books and they disappeared. I don't know where they are. I grew up loving Shel Silverstein so much. I mean, what kid didn't really? And then I started sharing the poems with my son, and he would just laugh, and we would have such a good time. So we would read a couple like every single night. So it was really devastating when I lost my other copies, but I do always keep an eye out for the rest of these. This is one that I picked up since moving here, but it's not one that I grew up with. I grew up with The End of the Sidewalk and then and The Light in the Attic that I no longer have. Alright, this is the next shelf that we're going to go over. We'll try to be a little bit more comfortable here. Alright, we're going to start over here and work our way over again. Complete unabridged poems of Robert Frost. Selected poems and prefaces by William Wordsworth. There's a lot in here and the text is pretty small. A Portable Compendium of Poetry, Drama, and Prose by William Butler Yeats. I also have another Yeats collection over there. It's like his fairy tales and folk tales. So it's like short stories. Another collection of John Donne. The Unknown Poe by... This is an anthology of fugitive writings by Edgar Allan Poe with appreciations by Charles Baudelaire. An indispensable anthology of brilliant, hard-to-find writings by Poe on poetry. That's a really interesting book. A Coney Island of the Mind, poems by Lawrence Ferlinghetti, and I really love this cover. The Beauty of the Husband by Anne Carson, fictional essay in 29 tangos. I remember starting this, but I felt really a collection of English Victorian poetry. That's another one of those Dover classics. I might consider getting rid of this one. I love this one. I love this book. Poems of Akhmatova, acclaimed bilingual edition of verse by Russia's greatest woman poet, selected and translated by Pulitzer Prize winner. Oh, Stanley Kunis. There's so many little tiny ones. Euripides by Medea, and I might actually consider getting rid of this one because I do have it in another collection. A Doll's House by Henrik Ibsen. This is a play. A Small Place by Jamaica Kincaid. This is actually more of a short story, so I don't know what it's doing over here. I love this cover. Somebody Give This Heart a Pen by Sophia Thacker. There's part of me that doesn't want to get rid of this book, but a part of me that really doesn't like it anyways, and that is House of Incest by Anais Nin, and I think it's just because I have all kinds of notes in here about her work as well. A lot of references to Greek mythology, some of them that I pick up on. Symbolism, analogy aren't really obvious to her meaning of intentions, and they're odd. Anti-man feminist. I know that she also writes erotica. I'm like really low here, I'm sorry. I know she also really writes erotica, and I feel like that has been kind of a roadblock in me enjoying a lot of her work as well, because she's very there's something interesting about this too, is each chapter or whatever is separated by these symbols, which I think is also really interesting. I don't know what symbols those are from. I'll probably end up keeping that one still. It's not like they take up very much room. The Dance Boots triptych. I'm not really sure how to say that. I think that's correct. Comfort Lessons. I think this is locally independently published from like where I live. It's signed. That's kind of cool. Licensed social worker, poet, wife, and mother of 2 terrific boys. Experiences in this book are part inspired by those in her caseload over the past 22 years. There's something about the cover of this that I absolutely love. Dusting for Prince. Poems by Bonnie Roberts. She's a local poet from Alabama, where I live. Ancestry Unfinished, Poems of a Lost Generation, juxtaposes the American day-to-day realities with her hypnotic Syrian-Lebanese heritage. Goodnight Desdemona, Good Morning Juliet by Anne-Marie MacDonald. I actually have another book by this author, Fall on Your Knees. So I thought it was interesting that she also has a poetry collection. All right, now we have these to go through. An essay and asterisks, and I thought this seemed really interesting. It is also very creative. The Keys to the Jail. She's been all over the place, but she is an assistant professor at Auburn University, which is like the big school here in Alabama. Cannibal by Sophia Sinclair. She's born and raised in Montego Bay, Jamaica. And there's stickers. Unfortunately, there's stickers covering up her bio, so that's really unfortunate, but I was definitely drawn in by this very creative looking cover. Mark Doughty, Deep Lane Poems, winner of the National Book Award. The Carrying by Ada Limon, selected poems by Gwendolyn Brooks. And Gwendolyn Brooks. Alright, and then I have this collection of poetry by Halsey. Alright, goody, we get to move up so I can get a little bit higher up off the floor because my back is screaming at me. Alright, 2 more shelves to go over. So here we have this shelf on the very top. Collected Poems by Sylvia Plath. And I can actually move this down and reorganize this a little bit because I've created some space, so that's nice. Dear Mr. Essay Writer Guy, Advice and Confessions on Writing, Love, and Cannibals. And this book has a really cute little format to it. I do have a little section over here of books about writing. Alright, starting on this side, we have Modern Poetry. Technically, this is the 7th volume. I don't even know. This book has a lot of weight to it and it's really floppy. There's a lot of the same poets in this collection as some other collections that I have. So I might consider actually getting rid of this one. But like I said, it's actually, I like the way it feels. Okay. A concise treasury of great poems by English and American. I don't know. I like the way this book feels too because it is quite old and the pages are even pretty yellowed. But like, I don't know. I like it. Loose Women by Sandra Cisneros. I have her book Carmelo, and I also have House on Mango Hill. Flowers of Evil by Baudelaire. Paris Spleen by Baudelaire. Old Possum's Book of Practical Cats by T.S. Eliot. Unfortunately, this edition has like kind of messed up, but that's okay. If you are a cat lover, I'm just saying. I have two collections by the same poet. I have the Oxford World Classics edition of John Keats, the major works. This even has letters in it as well. And then I have a Penguin Black edition of John Keats' complete poems. But it looks like this is just poems, and the other one has other types of writings as well. Walt Whitman, complete poems. And I've already dug into this. Leaves of Grass. Oh, Thomas Hardy's selected poems. Again, it's Dover thrifted, but I don't have any other Thomas Hardy poems. I think I have 2 Thomas Hardy books, but so I'll keep this for now. The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse. And I guess this is this little red canvas edition of Sonnets from the Portuguese. This is a Hallmark edition. Interesting. And it has like pictures. Oxford World Classic edition of Rilke by Rilke's Selected Poems. Rilke's Book of Hours. Doomed Love by Virgil. And this book was like $2.50, but like, I don't know. I just love this. I can't get over it. It's so pretty. You Poet. Learn the art, speak the truth, share your voice. And this is kind of like a workbook. It has, here's my bookmark. How to write poetry. Flash. Writing the very short story. Flash stories can be like a paragraph long. How to read literature like a professor. Okay, moving up to the top, we'll start with this. I've just put a bracelet around it, but you're the best thing I've ever found on the internet. All right, this is a candle, and my husband and I technically did meet on the internet. We met on MySpace. Oh my gosh. And that smells really good. And I keep these bracelets on there. I keep these bracelets wrapped around it just kind of for safekeeping and stuff. But this one says, I love you. And this one says, I know, from, that scene with, that scene from Star Wars. On the top here, we have another little collected poems by Baudelaire. But it's a nice, like, little hardback, and it even has, like, a little ribbon. On this little stack here, we have the tiniest little thing. I don't even know how I found this. I think it was like at a thrift store in like one of those little Duino Elegies by Rilke, and it is literally the tiniest little book. I have 4 of these books in these collections, and these are my absolute favorite poetry collections in these little books. Every Man's Library pocket poetry books, and I absolutely love these. This cover art is stunning. The spines are stunning, and even if you took those off, like the canvas covers underneath are really nice. They also have these little ribbon bookmarks. And I really like how they organize these poems. So these are all poems about garden themes. And then they have it broken up into paradises, gardens of love, gardens of the mind, gardens and seasons, flowers, gardeners, work of the garden, gardens of the wild, city gardens, public gardens, ruined gardens. A Garden of Gardens. Poems of the American South, another gorgeous cover. The canvas book underneath is this bright yellow, so they're different, unlike the novels that the Every Man's Library puts out. I probably would have gotten these anyways just because they were on sale at a used bookstore that I used to go to, and I had a lot of trade credit. So that's how I got these, which is kind of the story for most of my books. Now the next 2 are just features of specific poets versus like a theme. I don't want to butcher this French poet's name because I cannot pronounce it. Arthur. This one is blue canvas underneath. Leonard Cohen. This one is black and gold. I love that. Unfortunately, it looks like some coffee probably got spilt on this, but don't fall. And a small collection of love poems. Okay, now we're going to start over here. We have 2 collections by Billy Collins, 2 books by Nikita Gill, and this is really interesting. It actually has more than just poems. There's like some short stories in here, I believe, even some illustrations. This one, I don't know how much I'm loving it, but it is Fierce Fairy Tales, Poems and Stories to Stir. But yeah, there's some really pretty illustrations in it. But yeah, she takes fairy tales and like twists them. So, but yes, of course, I was completely charmed by the aesthetics and the cover art of these books. The next 2 books I have are Lullabies and The Universe Is Us by Lang Leave. I absolutely love this poet. Oddly enough, these have the most beautiful perfumey scent. It's the wildest thing. But yeah, they smell like perfume. I read her book called Memories, and I absolutely loved that one. So I have been looking for Memories, but I haven't found that one yet. I found these 2, but yeah. Then I have Silent Squall, and she's also written these other 3. What Kind of Woman? I absolutely adore this cover, and the poems in here are really good, even if they are kind of like, I don't know why this is here. I found another copy with this cover of We Have Always Lived in the Castle, and I'm totally okay with having 2 copies of this book because I love it. But this doesn't actually go on this shelf, so I'm gonna... Okay. Almost Home by Madison Kuhn, author of Please Don't Go and Before I Get Better. And technically these don't really go here either. These are classic retellings. We have Shylock Is My Name, a retelling of Merchant of Venice, profound interpretation of the Merchant of Venice, juxtaposed against the present-day counterpart of the character of the art dealer and conflicted father. And then The Gap of Time, Jeanette Winterson, one of Shakespeare's late plays. It tells the story of a king whose jealousy results in the banishment of his baby daughter and the death of his beautiful life. Oh, A Winter's Tale. And this is another Shakespeare retelling of A Winter's Tale. Finally, on the very tippy top, we have this candle, and we have, this was a Mother's Day gift, and it says, Mom, I hope this candle smells better than the shit I put you through. Then I have one of these little tree things, and then these books. Letters to a Young Poet, Good Poems, and Good Poems for Hard Times. Alright guys, that wraps up this episode. I hope that you really enjoyed this. I feel like it was kind of longer than some of the others. There was a lot more, even though it was smaller space. Regardless, I hope that you enjoyed this. Thank you all so much for watching, and if you like these videos, you can go ahead and subscribe and hit the bell to get notified when I post new videos. We still have a few more to do in this series, and thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye.